Hi, the Gardener Ben here with your next rose review. The rose I'm going to talk to you about today was bred and introduced by David Austin Roses way back when in 1998, and depending on how you train it and depending on how you grow it, can either be grown as a shrub rose or as a short or medium climber. This beautiful yellow lady is Teasing Georgia. I say, bred and introduced in 1998. This rose unfortunately is now discontinued here in the UK, but it is available throughout Europe, Australia, New Zealand, and in America and Canada. So do keep an eye out for it. It's well worth growing. This particular rose is one of those ones that actually suffers and has been retired by David Austin Roses because it actually suffers with a little bit of black spot and a little bit of proneness to rust. However, this rose also likes a really warm and dry climate, and as long as you can give it a warm, dry spot in the garden, perhaps on a south or a west aspect, make sure you mulch it well and pay close attention to your pruning, making sure the center of the plant is nice and open. This particular rose will reward you with hundreds and hundreds of flowers. So say, Teasing Georgia, grown as a shrub, will reach around 4.5 feet high by around 4.5 feet wide, and depending on how you prune it and depending on how you train it, you can grow it as a short climber, so suitable for growing up the sides of maybe a rose arch on either side as an option if you can't get hold of, for instance, Crown Princess Margarita, or up a pillar or post as a statement piece. Grown much like you would do Claire Austin on an obelisk, would make a really nice statement in the garden. The foliage, let's start off with the very basics for you. Let's pick a piece of the foliage. Is very broad, really large, wide leaves. They're a pale lime green colour in total, very matte green as well. There's no sheen to the leaves whatsoever, very flat and no reflection there whatsoever. The actual blooms and buds themselves, the bud is a rich, deep golden colour, tinged, oh, that one snapped off, but tinged with a really lovely orangey red scarlet flare up the sides, and you can see the very beginnings of the bleaching out effect right at the very edge of the petals, already occurring long before the actual flower opens. Teasing Georgia, when it opens in a normal temperature, has a lovely, rich, golden, vibrant yellow colour. But the temperatures here in the UK have been incredibly hot, giving it a very bleached out, heavy cream colour. Still incredibly pretty. Because of our cold evenings, you're going to get a smattering of red and scarlet tinging to the outside of the petals. And that's a signifying feature that the evening temperatures are still very low. But this is a really deeply cupped rose. Petal count is around 100 strong, so it is deeply cupped with plenty of petals. But this is a really lovely rose. I say, reaching around 4.5 by 4.5 feet as a shrub rose, it's going to create a woody shrub, very much like Thomas A. Becket, which is upright in its growth and then the blooms hang down. Also a little bit like Golden Celebration in its habit as well. So you might need to give it a little bit of support. It's going to produce a huge wave of blooms in late June and early July, a huge flush. It's going to take a little bit of a break, and then it's going to have a very determined, a very set second flush, normally in around late August as well. But this rose does really well in a warm and dry climate, so if you're growing this rose and looking for something suitable for growing in heat, this particular rose will do very well. Here in the UK, if we have a particularly wet, mild summer, it does suffer with a little bit of black spot and a little bit of rust, which is a little bit annoying. The thorn count is slightly variable. The old growth that is woody and strong, that's going to have quite a high thorn count on it. However, new growth is born on quite long arching stems like this one here, and you can see that habit that I was talking about. Long straight stem with that brack of blooms hanging on the very end, which nod very gracefully towards the floor. It really is quite pretty. I don't know why I haven't reviewed Teasing Georgia for you before, but it's been part of my collection now for around 10 years. Grown as a short climber, all you need to do is, as I say, give it a pillar, a post, or the side of a rose arch to climb up, and simply just prune it as you would do a climbing rose. Allow those leaders to elongate ever so slightly. You can expect a final height of something in the region of 8 to 10 feet, making it more than manageable, as I say, for the size of a rose arch or for growing up a pillar or post. But this is Teasing Georgia, now unfortunately retired here in the UK, but still available in other parts of the world. The fragrance on this one is really quite nice as well. It's a very mild hybrid tea fragrance. There is a lovely warm and spicy back edging to it, so there's a small amount of cloves and sandalwood at the very, very back of it. Fragrance rating, I'm going to be giving this something in a region of a 3 or a 4. So this is Teasing Georgia from David Austin Roses, can be grown as a shrub rose or as a short climber.